All the freaky people make the beauty of the world. I see a lot of freaks in here tonight too, that's for sure. Those are actually lyrics from Michael Franti's 2001 album, Stay Human. And it's not about what you might think, it's about the weirdos and the people in the world that aren't exactly like everybody else. And it's what makes the world a beautiful place. And, you know, the whole message is that there's no need to discriminate against anybody for any reason. It's silliness. Michael Franti is a musician, a poet, a filmmaker, a political activist, and basically tonight what I'm going to be talking about is his life, his music, his work that he does, because music is important to all of us. Music can change the world, and he's somebody that I believe his voice can change the world one person at a time if you just pay attention to the messages that's happening. You know, because music is important in everyone's life. You know, it defines who we are as people. It really does. It defines how we talk, how we dress, who we hang out with.
So true.
It just connects us all as human beings. I mean, I think that's the important thing. So basically what I'm going to be talking about is his life, his music, and the social impact that he's made on the world, not just here at home, but on the world. So let's talk about Michael from the beginning. Michael was born in April 1966 in Oakland, California. He was actually, when he was born, because he's black, Native American, I think French, Irish, he's kind of a mixture of everything. And when he was born, his birth parents didn't think that the families would accept him because he's of color, not just a little white boy being born. So they made up a plan for him to be adopted. He was adopted by a family that already had 3 kids, and they had one other adopted son that was an African-American boy. You can see all about this. He was on a special in 2010 called A Home for the Holidays, where it's basically something they do at Christmas time every year to try to find families for kids that need to be adopted. And you know, it tells all about his life and just a really, really great story. He is an advocate for children all over the world. You can see him anytime, any place with his guitar, playing in a kid's hospital, playing in a war zone, playing in a burned down village, playing anywhere that anybody will listen. Like I said, he is actually from San Francisco area. He was born in the Bay Area, you know, born in Oakland, but moved to San Francisco with his parents. He went on to play college basketball at the University of San Francisco. And it is because he is 6'6". He's a really tall guy. And one thing you'll always hear on his records is that he stands 6'6" above sea level. When he was going to the University of San Francisco, it's actually when he learned to write and play music. He was actually a priest while he was on campus that taught him how to structure songs, lyrics, and music, and that's when he formed his first band called the Beatniks. This was in 1986. The Beatniks, yes. He has 2 sons, Cappy and Ade, and just actually got married 2 weeks ago to Sarah, who is a nurse and a jewelry designer. It was actually one of his sons, Cappy, that influenced him into becoming a vegan, no animal products whatsoever. And one of the really interesting things that people always find about him, because if you ever see him, he's barefoot. And he's actually been barefoot since around the 2000, when he actually went to South America and was going around and traveling with an Indian tribe down there and asked, why are you guys always barefoot? So, and the answer he got was so they could stay in touch and in tune with the earth. They could always be at one with it. So, moving on. Now the first band that Michael started was in 1986. It was called the Beatniks, and they were described as kind of an industrial punk and spoken word band. So their sound is kind of all over the place. It's poetry mixed with really loud banging and drumming and nothing that really sounds that real. They released two records, one EP and one LP, for alternative tentacles out of San Francisco. They did receive actually a lot of critical acclaim for their album and for the music, but nobody outside of San Francisco ever heard of them. That was until 1992 when Michael formed the Disposable Heroes of Hiphoprisy, which they were actually a industrial hip hop band. So you had the same kind of sonic sound with hip hop music. And that's when they actually got recognized by U2, which at the time was the biggest band in the world. And so they got chosen to be their opening act for their 92 Zoo TV tour. So they got exposed to a worldwide audience with that opportunity. They did release one more record as Disposable Heroes, but that wasn't really an out. That was more of it was a album called Spare Ass Annie and Other Tales, which is actually with William Burroughs, the famous beat poet. So after that, Michael formed Michael Franke and Spearhead, which was a big departure from the music he'd been doing before because it was more funk and soul with a little bit of reggae mixed inside. Their first album that came out was Home. They did have one minor hit on that called There's a Hole in the Bucket. If you're familiar with the kid song, There's a Hole in the Bucket, Dear Liza, Dear Liza. But it was about losing your possessions, basically. After that, they dropped another album called Chocolate Superhighway. But it wasn't until their album in 2001, Stay Human, came out that really kind of changed things for them again, because it was actually a concept album that was in protest to the death penalty here in the United States. And it was released on their own independent label so they could say what they wanted to say without the backlash from corporations. And their biggest hit as of today was Say Hey, I Love You. I think everybody knows that song. Say Hey, I Love You. So that's really what they've continued to do, is kind of transform their sound, develop it more, gone into more reggae, more dance music, more feeling good music, more world music. Their last album was All People, and actually had a local artist contribute on the record. Ethan Tucker from Twin Falls played on the record with him. So that was really, really neat. So I guess the next big thing is what he's actually done for people with the world, other than with his music, the political contributions he's made. In 2006, he came out with his first film called I Know I'm Not Alone, which was a documentary about the conflict in the Middle East. He went over there with a couple of his friends and his guitar and went to the Gaza Strip and Israel and
That's pretty cool.
and Baghdad, just to see what is everybody fighting for. And basically was standing around with people shooting machine guns with his wooden folk guitar, playing songs to kids and visiting them in hospitals and such, just trying to understand the conflict. Also, he came out with a new movement called Do It for the Love, which is, it's a nonprofit organization that is basically, it helps people with severe injuries, disabled veterans, terminally sick people, actually provides them with live music just to kind of bring them joy and happiness in life. It's a pretty neat organization. And this year he got to go see, got to play for the Dalai Lama when the Dalai Lama was here. He played his new song. Cool. Yeah, so kind of to wrap it up and in conclusion, the biggest thing that Michael does, his voice is a very powerful statement to the world. It's uplifting and it's full of joy, love, and hope, the things that are, important and really important in life, about peace, love, equality. I'm proud to say that he is my friend. I've known him for over 20 years now. And the coolest thing that I know about him, talking with him, is just the way he talks to people, his words, his smile. He can really change your life in that moment, which I think in turn can change the rest of the world. And that's why it's important. Thank you.